Hey everyone, it is Kai, and we have more results over the weekend from Japan. We have two BVFL results, and this time we're seeing Standard and V Premium. So not Premium, but V. So that's pretty good. But first we're going to start off with Standard. This is a post-Lyrical Monastery format, and surprisingly, I think we're seeing kind of the things return back to normal. Last week we saw a huge impression of Lyrical Monastery decks, but this time we're seeing more flavor, a bit of everything, so it's good to see that. And basically it's just showing that the format might not be as just like one-sided as we think. Of course, last week was kind of release week, and this week everyone's kind of taken more of different decks, right? So let's start off with Standard in Mito. So first we have Yun playing Uriel, so Uriel finally getting a dub. I know Uriel kind of stays around in the top 8 a bit, but never really taking the win before, but now it's finally gotten one, so that's good. We got Mikazuki with Bastion, so Bastion's still doing good. And then we got Uzume, Yujiro, and Kazu all doing well with Seraph Snow. So 2 top 4s with Seraph Snow, then a top 8 with Seraph Snow as well. And then followed by that, we've got Asakura with Bastion, and then Arisu with Bastion, and then we've got Nanasemaru with Roro Neru. So finally we see that Lyrical Monastery deck, but looks like the Bastions have returned. That once again they're showing that they're not supposed to be trifled with, and the Seraph Snow has really been popping up. But the one thing that we're missing from this is all the Bruces. So where do they go? Where do they all go? All right. So let's kind of look at the deck breakdown. So the most played deck was Roro Neru, so the cat girl, with 10 plays bringing it. There was actually 45 plays entering this tournament, and then with Bruce there was 7. So Bruce was the second most represented deck, with Seraph Snow with it also being 7. Then we got Bastion after that with 6. Then we got Clarissa with 4. So Clarissa actually being quite popular. And then after that, it kind of drops off to the 1s and the 2s. We've got like Nirvana and Felty Rosa with 2, and then the rest are just 1s. We got the Eugene, the Barrow Magnus, and all that. So yeah, that was basically the top 8 breakdown. And let's kind of take a look at the decks, right? So first place, going by 1st till 8th. We got the Uriel deck here. Basically the things that we've just been seeing the whole time. I think if you've invested in a Monster Strike deck, it is actually not bad. Like, especially Uriel, it's doing work. It's doing work, right? And definitely attracted a lot of people into the game. Apparently this was very sold out, just like Lyrical Monastery, so good times. But then after that, we've got our interesting Blaster Dark list of Bastion, which is a bit of a change than before. I think now that, like, Bruce's kind of dropped off, but even though we see a lot of, like, it was the second most represented deck, right? But more players are just can be more unique with the Bastions, playing more boosters and not really caring about that matchup in a way, because it's not as crazy as it was before. But at the same time, in Japan, it was more Bastion than Bruce, right? It was more Bastion than Bruce. But here we have, just the Blaster Dark line instead of just the normal Bastion line. But apart from that, you see the Rafalsos, and that's about as unique as it gets, right? Moving on, we've got the Seraph Snows. I think this is pretty much the standard list now. Ever since this PR really came into play, you just run 4 of that and just dunk the rest, right? Everything like those Lamones, get that out of here. Just run this, and that's it. You're set. The deck is decent, it's good, and this is basically what all these Seraph Snow decks are pretty much right now, with varying amounts of the hand order. It just depends what else you want to put in the deck, right? Usually you run the turquoise and the Rouges because it's just really good cards, but then the rest of them are here, like the Bug Motor. I think the Bug Motor you keep at 4, but the Cheval Stud you probably kind of change the numbers around. So like, I think the Cheval Stud here, it was actually at 3, right? So you could put 1 more order in, something like that, right? And then the last Seraph Snow, we have the 3 order and then just the 3 Cheval Studs. So that's basically the entire deck, and just kind of sorted out and just become just a strong deck. Just a strong deck, right? And then after that, we've got the Bastions again. And yeah, Bastion does Bastion things. And then another Bastion one. Just a very easy deck, very easy to execute. And then lastly, we've got the Roro Neru, which is, yeah, it's good, right? Don't remember, it did very well last week. Now this week, you can probably think more players that kind of know how to play against this deck. They've seen it in action for a week, so now it's kind of dropped off in flavor. Flavor of the week. It's a pretty quick drop off, but again, it's still a very strong deck. Just learn how to play it and hope for the best, right? Then we've got the V Premium. This one we don't really have the breakdowns on deck, but first place we have Neko with Ruad, and then Shindo with Luad as well. And then in the top 4 we have Gen with Kimiko Yggdrasil, and then the other top 4 slot with Shaw with Duke. So kind of the meta hasn't really changed much, right? Luad's still a very strong deck. It's interesting we don't really see Prism in Japan, right? Especially in the big tournaments. I know in the West we favor Prism quite heavily. Also, we don't really see the Gabriel, right? Gabriel kind of seems to have dropped off a bit. But yeah, Luard being the big pick. Now, Luard here is just kind of your standard Luard. You are just kind of, you have to choose to go multi-attack or no multi-attack, lame or not lame. He's gone multi-attack with Abyss Router, which is a bit of an old tech, right? A bit of an old tech. Back then, this was very good in the mirrors. But I think nowadays people favor the Apocalypse Bat for the multi-attacks, but it's fine, it's fine. Anything that makes multi-attacks fine. The core is there, core Luard is still very, very strong. Getting heaps of force markers and just can control the game. You know, you can keep them at 0 and then farm a hand and then win like that. The other Luard deck we have here is running the Abyssal Owl. Is it? No, not Abyssal Owl. The Apocalypse Bat. I'm getting all the A's mixed up. Yeah, with the Apocalypse Bat, this is a much more standard multi-attack line. And just overall, kind of can do the same thing pretty much. Kind of can do the same thing. I think like Noman played a similar deck to this in BSFO. I mean, I'm just got a vaccine just then, so now my arm is absolutely dead. But yeah, I think Noman played a deck similar to this, so if you want to check that out, we did feature it, so it's good. It's still relevant, and I think after Clan Collection comes out, this will still be a relevant deck too. You just replace the heals with Heal Guardians, and bam! Right, bam! It's still good. It's still top tier deck. And then next we have the Himiko Yggdrasil. Again, another deck that is very, very potent. Of course, there's lots of ways to play Genesis in V. We've got Regalia, and then we've got Himiko Yggdrasil, and then we've got the Astral Poet line. So lots of really strong ways to play. I know people favor the Astral Poet way because it's just much more like destructive, but you know, right now these other decks can show their worth too. It's not like maybe you don't want to stick to like a 20 grade 3 lineup, then this is fine. This is fine, right? And then lastly, with Duke. Duke always been decent. I think with Luards you can easily play around Duke. And also like other Prism decks that can farm hand and control damage and control the flow of the game. But generally against other decks which don't really pay attention to you or really respect you, Duke will just absolutely steamroll them like I don't know. I don't want to say bad words, but he will dunk on them. Dunk on them. So overall, good work. Generally just a great list. Moving on to Oyama. Alright, Oyama. First place, we've got Gojo Satoru. I think this is from Jujutsu Kaisen, right? Playing Bruce. So Bruce finally showing itself back, and then we've got Masaru with Earns Correct. Earns Correct. Not the deck I was expecting, right? We've been expecting Cat Girls, but Dragon Girl making its pitch. And then Rune, full stop, with Bruce. He's been a well-known Bruce. I think a lot of previous tops have just been this guy with Bruce. Then we've got Ore with Uriel. So another Uriel top. Then we've got Tatsu with Bruce again. And then we've got Gen with Roro Neroru and Nanasemaru and Akuma also playing Roro Neroru. So what's more Bruce and Roro Neroru kind of representation, and then no Bastion. So it's like either in one tournament we have all the Bastions and no Bruce, but in the other we've got all the Bruce and no Bastion. So pretty cool. Going to the deck breakdown, 49 people joined this tournament. Of course, Roro Neroru was the most represented deck with 13. But then the second place was actually Bruce by a wide margin. This was with 11 players bring Bruce. So basically nearly 1/4. Well, a quarter of the people brought the Cat Girl, a quarter of the people brought Bruce, pretty much. Then after that, there was a big drop off to Seraph Snow, which was only 6 people. Then Bastion with 5 people, and then Earnscript with 3. And then the rest was like 2 Uriels, 2 Felty Rose, and then the ones off of like, you know, like Nirvana's, Zoya, things like that. So that's pretty much the breakdown. Like 3 Bruce, 3 Cat Girl, and then 1 of each. So let's kind of go through the decks themselves, right? This one is just your kind of your standard Bruce deck now. They've kind of, I think previously we saw a lot of like 7 draw lists. Now they've kind of moved back to Rainbow again, and then they're playing more Edens, right? Before there was like just 4 Leonard, nothing else. Now they put back the Edens, playing a much more balanced list now, and it's much more refined, right? They had a long time to figure it out. Second, we have the Earns Correct list. This is pretty cool. Basically, remember, Earns Correct is just 4 of everything plus 3 flex slots, and the flex slots they're playing is the bounce order. Not the order, bounce, grade 2, and then 2 of the 30k orders, which is 30k defensive orders, which is, I mean, we've seen the 30k defensive order quite a bit. This one, we've kind of been seeing the 15k grade 2 defensive card instead, but now we're seeing this bounce card, which is I think this is very good against the Bruces, which I think was a good call. It was a good call with all the Bruces flying around in this tournament. And then the next one we had was another Bruce, again, very figured out, 3 Edens. This one is also just the 2 draws. I think this is Rune's deck, right? So I know previously he was the guy running a few draws, right? A few more draws, but I think watching him play, I saw some of the videos he plays much more aggressive, but I think he's also lowered the amount of draws he plays. I think he was the 7 draw one, or like at least the 4 draw one or something like that, but he's definitely dropping that to 2 is a bit more, you know, I guess it's a bit more of a change up, playing like the extra crit, which hopefully crit early, I guess, that's the whole point. And then next we have is the Uriel deck. So again, Uriel showing its stuff. I mean, Uriel won the other tournament on that weekend, but Uriel also top 8. So good times. And then not lastly, we have another Bruce deck here with, this is a much more, looks like a much more beatdown list with the Colossus and just no Ian. So just going full in on those big turns with the 7 draws as well. So this looks like the 7 draw is coming back. And then we've got the Nerurus, right? Not much deviation here. I think this list is just pretty much sorted out. Everyone's kind of figured out how to play it. Just the order needs changing. Like you play like 1 or 2, like 3 or 4 of this order, and then you just change one of this up, right? You can add an extra slot in the main deck as well. So pretty good. And then lastly, oh look at this, Ernst correct debate. Ernst correct debate. Yeah. So otherwise, yeah. Good decks. And then lastly, we've got the V premiums. Again, we don't have to break down on the entire list. But here we've got New York coming in as first with Spectral Duke, and then Tuckdoor with Valkyrian, and then Kubochi in top 4 with Ultimile, right? And then Bale with Jigen Robo. So that's kind of interesting. A bit of a weird lineup there. So here we've got the Duke list, pretty similar to all the Duke lists out there. Then in second place we've got this is a pretty max rarity looking Genesis list, right? 16, the good old 16 crit lists that we've been seeing. Who needs Heal Guardians, right? Just demolish them with the crits. And then third place, we've got the Ultimile. So Ultimile coming back, right? Ultimile did get some support with the grade 1. But look at this Wingle, Brave? Wingle? Blasters and things like that. I know there's a huge amount of players who really like Ultimile, right? They're always trying to make it work. I'm surprised this one doesn't really run the Jewel Knights, right? People have been talking about Jewel Knight Ultimile, how good is that? But this guy is just running just pure Ultimile, and he somehow came in top 4, third place probably. So it's pretty good. And then lastly, we have the Robos, the Robot Men. Are they actually all men? Yeah, they're all they're robots. Yeah, so this is just pretty. Is it standard like Black into Dialina? Great. Definitely with Dai Kaiser coming to be pretty good. Not running the Zeal engine, right? Which is sure. I mean, I think people are kind of split between, do I run Zeal or do I still run Dialina? Personally, I think Dialina is just still good, still better. I think because you have like Brad Black interactions. Dialina just offers more shield, and you know, Great Dayush is still pretty good. So overall, I think I do like the Jigen Robo line better rather than the Zeal line, but yeah, he did pretty well, but got top 4. So yeah, that is pretty much the entire tournament this week. It is a kind of return to normal, I think. Last week was just absolute domination from the Neru clan, but now we do see a bit of everything. We see, like, you know, Bruce, Bastion, they're all showing that they're still good, but Catgirl is still good too. Uriel's still showing up, right? Uriel, kind of that weird deck that, you know, people thought it's just like collab clan, but surprisingly it has been converting very well. Everyone, like, you see tournaments bring like what, 2 or 3 Uriels, and then one guy always tops it, and this guy someone won. So yeah, Monster Strike really does have a big impact in the metagame. And of course the Seraph Stones, right? Seraph Stone, we kind of see it here and there quite a lot of times. That PR really doing in work and just getting those huge amounts of tops. So good to see all that's like how the meta is more diverse than we expected. I mean, I definitely do expect way more Bruce, but it seems like Bruce, if you try to bring it to a tournament and don't really practice with it, you just think you can get carried by the deck. Probably not so much, right? You could probably do it with Bastion a bit better, but Bruce is one of those decks where if you're a bit not careful, right? You can't really get carried. You have to still at least learn the deck a bit and get used to playing it, planning ahead, right? Playing 1 turn ahead is a pretty 5 head, so good skill to have. So that's kind of what I think about the current meta and all the results. Let me know what you guys think, and I will see you guys next time, probably tomorrow, right? Bye.